Wouldn't it be helpful if you knew what kind of customer you're dealing with? Wouldn't it even be more helpful to understand how they make their decisions, when to be aggressive and when to be passive? Would this help you increase your sales or your income? Fortunately for you, I'm going to answer these questions. Welcome back, everybody, to Sales Remastered. My name is Daniel. I'm your host, your friend, and your fellow hustler. And Sales Remastered is designed to help you achieve more through tips, tricks, life hacks, growth hacks on how to level up and boost your sales, your income, your morale, your mindset, everything good in life. And on this episode, what I wanted to do is cover a few ways to understand who you're dealing with when you're originating your sales. You know, if you're in sales, you understand that sales, making a sale and closing a sale is not only the lifeline of your job and your business, but it also plays a pretty key role with regards to your income. And in my experience, or in my tenure, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and what I've found is that there's typically two types of clients, and I'm going to summarize it. I mean, we can go deeper and peel back layers and layers and go real deep in the subject, but I'm going to summarize it. And if you want to learn more about prospecting, sales negotiation, closing, sales techniques, motivation hacks, check out the other content. If this is your first time here, please click the subscribe button and the notification button so that way you get a heads up with what kind of content is being uploaded, and I upload on a daily basis. And my whole intent is to help share with you information that has worked for me and those that I mentor get to that next level. But every day we face a challenge of originating new sales. And in your first initial conversation regarding sales to your prospect can be pretty awkward, and a lot of times it has to do with the mindset of the actual salesperson. And it's because, it's like you're juggling too many things. You're talking, but you're not really paying attention to the answer. You're more awkward because you're too worried about how the prospect thinks of you, what they're thinking, what objections might come out of their mouth, how to respond nicely. So it's like kind of like you're on your first date, and you don't want to, of course you want to impress the other person that you're on the date with, but at the same time, unknowingly you can actually counteract a lot of your efforts by seeming too desperate. And so with my sales, whether it's person face to face, business to business, business consumer, or inbound calls from internet leads, regardless if the prospect is comparing, shopping me, or first time talking on the subject, I love to use a sales script in which there's a link below this video that takes you to my website, which is SalesRemastered.com. And if you sign up for the free sales script, it's free. It's got some strong content in there, and it's designed to help you open up the conversation so that you hold the mic at all times and you can control the conversation. And the reason why I'm going over that is because that's exactly what you need to do in order for your initial sales conversation not to be awkward. So check out that script. It's going to help you out. But I want you to pay attention to a few things, whether you use my script or you use a script that you're accustomed to or your company gives. I want you to consider a few things. Number one is the very first 3 questions that you ask this individual, whether it's how are you doing, or can we begin, or is this what you're looking for? I want you to really focus in on those questions and the quality of those questions. But more importantly, I want you to understand why the quality it plays a role is because you want to be able to ask questions that are not, yes or no answers. You want to ask questions that are open-ended, but will also extract key information that you're going to need to utilize as leverage for them to continue giving you their attention, right? And so what I want to do is kind of just zero in on one key thing. When you ask these 3 questions, whatever they may be, you want to pay close attention to the response of that prospect. And if the response is hesitant, or if the response is open, that's going to tell you some key things about the prospect you're dealing with. And so, for example, if you ask a question that's open-ended and you get a sense of reservation, like they're probably, you know, they're an introvert, or you might find that they don't feel comfortable with you yet, so they're not going to give you a full answer. They'll kind of brush off on it. And it could be something as simple as like rapport building, right? Like, hey, do you live in the area? You know, the person who is open is going to say yes and then give you some history. The person who's a little bit more introverted and more reserved is going to give you a very short answer and then change the subject. Because their focus is to maybe get the product, or the focus is to, you know, hurry up, buy, and then get out, or hurry up, check out what price you have, and then get out. And it's important to understand what kind of person you're dealing with, because that is going to give you a clue of how to not only pitch that person when the time comes, but also how to communicate with them throughout the rest of the conversation. And so, for example, you know, let's just say that the prospect, whether they are aggressive or passive, there are certain questions that spark triggers in humans' mind. Then didn't even need to be prospect. It could be your mindset. It could be the way you're wired, the way I'm wired. There are certain questions that are common, but we are wired to say no to. One of the most common questions that you'll know is like, can I help you? Like when you're walking through a store and you got that one rep says, hi, thanks for coming in. Can I help you? Most of us are going to say, no, I'm okay, I'm just looking, or no, I'm fine. And typically those are either the passive or the introverted, or even in some cases, it's probably just the person that knows exactly what they want and they just don't want to talk. And when we consider that question, let's compare it to something else. Like if you have a guest and your guest comes over and you ask that guest, you know, let's say it's a short stay, or you're not sure how long the stay is, and you ask that guest, can I get you a glass of water? You'd be surprised how many people say no, right? Like, oh, I'm okay. Especially if they just come to stop by. Or, you know, if it's a neighbor that comes by, knocks on your door and talks, you want to say, hey, do you want to come in for a drink? You know, they'll be programmed to say, no, I'm okay. And a lot of times, because society is wired to not put another person in a burden or a predicament. And so it's key to pay attention to the way they respond to these answers, because you're going to know whether or not you should be passive with the information and content you present, or whether you should be more aggressive and assume the close, right? And so, for example, if I was asking an introverted person if I wanted to give them water, and I knew that they're an introvert, I may not ask them if I can get them water. I would ask them that if I truly didn't want to get them water, because I know that they would say no, or they would pass. And kind of use that to my advantage. Whereas if I knew that they were the aggressive type, they're the open type, you know, I know for sure I can ask them if they want some water. They're gonna say yeah, and then I can use that to my benefit to open up the dialogue of the meeting. Now, on the flip side, if I needed to sell that water, if I needed to get that water in that introvert's hands, I wouldn't ask them. I would be aggressive and close. You see, it's kind of like a seesaw. With people who are aggressive and open, you want to be passive. With people who are passive and reserved, you want to be kind of aggressive. Not aggressive like, you know, aggressive like just you know, lead the way. And so instead of asking that person if they want a glass of water, I'd bring it with me and say, hey, this is some awesome water. Check it out. Or you know what? It's hot outside. Here's some nice cold water. And just assume it and hand it off. Because if you were asked that person if they wanted a glass of water, because they're an introvert, they're going to say no, because they're shy, even though they could be parched and really thirsty. Whereas if you assumed it and just put it in their hand, they'll take it and they'll end up drinking it. So kind of, you know, take what you can from this video or that concept and fuse it into your sales pitch, fuse it into your initial sales conversation, and understand who you're dealing with. Because when you understand who you're dealing with, you know how to deal. And when you know how to deal, you know how to make a deal. I hope that helps. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.